Radio Zero.
It's Radio Zero with Rick and Rose.
What's going on?
Sorry, finally I cried. Okay, sorry. Tuesday, July 30th, 8 p.m. I'm sorry. Oh my God. All right, sorry.
We're live streaming on Facebook on the Radio Zero page and Poster Children page, on Twitch at PCJCUSA, and on the Poster Children YouTube channel. Special day today. We're streaming early Tuesday evening. Yeah, you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Go to radiozero.us. You can patronize us at patreon.com/radiozero. All right, you going to be okay to do this?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
So ridiculous. Sorry. Yeah. Are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. I just wasn't ready to talk, so I figured you would be talking.
Yes.
And now it
Hello.
seems like you won't.
So, okay, yes, I will. So, what did we were at a memorial for Steve Albini over the weekend. And so we were going to talk about it. You're going to be gone on Friday, so we decided to talk earlier. That's all. Right? So, yeah, I'm sorry. I've been walking around for the past 2 days. When you've been to a conference and it's been really immersive, just any kind of conference. And then you get back and you're not with your friends anymore. And you're like, oh, what just happened? And you're kind of reviewing it in your head, and that's what just happened, or that's what I've been walking around just thinking about,
And for me, it felt more like I guess what I imagine a high school reunion. It was I haven't gone to any of my high school reunions because I'm not particularly nostalgic for high school, but this was a group of people, from the music scene, and some from the theater or Second City scene in Chicago. But the people we were interacting with, most of them were from the scene, and it was it was pretty profound to see everybody. Some people, seen over the years, and then some people I haven't seen for 30 years, and we're all getting older.
Who hadn't you seen for 30 years?
Actually, maybe not. Yeah, maybe it hasn't been 30 years since I saw most of these people.
Yeah.
So I was wrong.
Well, no, I was asking you.
Who did you see? Do you remember anybody that you hadn't seen for 30 years?
I haven't seen Liz for a long time, right? Liz Clayton, I haven't seen. So
in
it was
person,
for
but
me,
on the internet.
Yeah, on the internet you see, So for me, it was like being immersed in like being with my book characters, like the characters that I wrote about in my book, except for one of them.
And I don't think I've talked to Rick Digit directly. I went to the Touch and Go, whatever that was. What was that? The 25th anniversary?
Oh yeah.
Touch and Go. That was 15 years ago already.
Yeah.
And I saw him there performing, but I don't think
you don't think you talked to him.
I don't think I had a conversation with him.
Such a big rock star.
Well, it was also a big show.
There were a lot of people there.
It's not like I could have. Well, I wasn't backstage.
So there wasn't a lot of people at this, so you could talk to people.
And I didn't talk to them because I never knew them. I should have gone up and talked to them. I saw all three members of Killdozer standing with each other at the buffet table.
What would you have said to them?
I think Boy, what would I have said to it? Yeah, that's the thing, is I didn't have a entry point. I mean, I could say I watched the Smart Studios documentary a while ago.
Yeah.
And they were in that, right? Yeah, they were in that. And so I could have said something about that, but I
Yeah, you had like entry points. So our kids came with us too, and I remember like right before we left, you were like they wanted to come with. They're like, we want to come with you. And I was surprised because they never want to go anywhere with us. They don't even want to go to a restaurant with us, and they wanted to come to this. So that was really neat. But I remember you saying, what are you gonna do if you see Fred Armisen there? And like our older kid was like, I don't know, and I was like, what are you gonna do if you see Fred Armisen? Are you like gonna freak out? Because remember, you used to freak out when you see the weather lady and like the woman who
at Walmart.
Yeah, you'd see her and you'd be like, oh my God, it's the weather lady! Ah.
Well, I'd start laughing.
Yeah.
Uncontrollably.
Yeah.
It's like when the little person inside the box.
Yeah, is real life
in full size and walking and looking at stuff in an aisle at Target. That's, I think it's cognitive dissonance or something. I just start laughing.
But I was
like
trying
not in a like a taunting way, like giggling. Like it tickles me, or it makes it just seems nonsensical.
But when you said that, I was like, oh, what's Rick going to do if he sees Fred Armisen? And then I was like, why would Fred Armisen be there? And then you had said, Second City, because there's a connection. So
he's really involved with the charity, the Letters to Santa.
Yeah. So and that was the first we walked in when we got past all the guards, and then we walked into the little, like the hotel-y type place. And there was it was all empty because people were somewhere. People were eating or something like that. And it's Fred Armisen walked right past us, and it was like, and I said, oh, there you go. I think you were already in the bathroom.
I was in the toilet.
So I think he had come out of the toilet.
Oh, really? So maybe I didn't even.
Yeah. But
process that
Dow
he was
saw
in the toilet.
Dow saw him, and he was like, oh my God. And he had like kind of a strange energy about, because he was going to go and insult some of the people that were there.
No,
like,
he was just doing.
Yeah, there was some
musical
interesting stuff.
Comedy.
So if you don't know, like if you're listening, you don't know who Steve Albini is, can we just explain? He's an underground rock producer, right? Engineer, not producer, but he produced over. Graham was looking him up on Wikipedia and like had a hand in over like thousands of something like 3,000 albums or something like that. And I was like, wow, that like this year probably, right? Not like, or over his life. We worked with him in 1987,
89, 90, and 91, and then 2016 and 2017.
Yeah, and probably somewhere in there too, right? Didn't we record something like some one-off, like little like?
Yeah, so we did half of Flower at his house in 89, so the summer of 89. We had done the other half of Flower with Ian the previous summer, the summer of 88.
Ian Burgess.
And then in the spring of 1990, we recorded demos for Daisy Chain Reaction, some of which wound up on the album. Like If You CK, we recorded at Steve's house in 1990 spring. And then the summer we were at CRC, Chicago Recording Company, with Steve and recorded Daisy Chain Reaction. And then the record didn't come out for a year because Rough Trade went bankrupt, and Twin Tone didn't have a distributor. And then they got that all worked out. And then the record came out the next year when punk broke.
Yeah. So that I feel like we recorded some like
and then we recorded
cover or something, right?
4 songs, 4 gags. I still have the reel-to-reel. Steve called it 4 gags. So we went to his house, recorded It's True for the Teriyaki Asthma comp. We recorded
Teriyaki Asthma comp on
Teriyaki Asthma, the 4-song single that had Tsunami and I can't remember those. Yeah, it's a 4-song. 7-inch, and then we did a Monkees cover, Mary Mary.
Oh God!
We did Down in the Desert by
Thin White
Rope for a split 7-inch with
Mary
Thin White
Mary.
Rope. And then we did Isis. We recorded
Yeah.
Isis. So the Mary Mary was also supposed to be for a Monkees tribute. So it was a Dylan tribute. We did Isis and then a Monkees tribute. But I don't think the Monkees tribute ever came out, which is probably good because, yeah,
It was
our
a
version
gag.
of Mary Mary. Yeah, I think
I
that
don't
was
even remember that.
that was what pushed Steve over. I think is why he called it them gags. He didn't feel like it was a real. So he didn't feel it was real.
I remember having a long discussion with him about the bass part in Isis, because there's the bass part there's an interesting bass part there, and I wanted to play it, but we were playing the song like twice as fast as Bob Dylan plays it, and I was like, I couldn't play it that fast, and I was trying to take it again, and he was like, don't play all those notes. You don't need to play all those notes. And I was like, but I can. I want to try it. I want to show off my prowess. And he kind of got that, like, no, like kind of convinced me to not do that.
And this is interesting because that was right around the time that Steve started backing off. And so if you listen to interviews about, the Pixies record, Surfer Rosa, he was pretty, and he later interviews, he says he felt he was too hands-on and, pushed too much in terms about the sound. And he was
so
pretty
happy.
active.
Yeah.
He was pretty active when we first recorded with him in that too. And then he kind of moved on to the more documentarian. And I was talking to Rick Digit about this because Rick, I was asking him about the One Dead Hippie single. And I had thought it had been recorded at Steve's house, but apparently it had been recorded at, what is it called? Studio Media, whatever that Evanston studio was. And Rick was saying, yeah, they were, at each other's throats kind of, or it was like it was
you
always
love
like
the way that single
I do,
sounds.
and it was it's the way Rick was saying it was like he was saying turn it up, I want to hear more guitars and everything, and Steve was like and that was that's what we talked a little bit about, or at least I talked about, is like he was a pretty, he tuned all the drums for us for Brendan on the first session, the Flower
made
Flower
fun of his
sessions.
octobans and turned them up really high. Yeah.
But then also, disconnected my guitar amp and ran a tube amp through the speakers because I had a solid state amp. And, he initially was a lot more involved in getting the sounds. And then, for the next 30 years, he was much more of the documentarian, right? And so I think that was interesting to think about and talk about.
I'm glad that you talked to Rick Digit. So I just remember like sitting on the lawn there. We're sitting in there were people were getting up to the mic and talking, doing remembrances of Steve and reading things that people had written, and then there'd be like, people playing music, like just 3 songs.
You should be able to, I believe all those live streams, they live streamed those. So I don't know what you would search for on YouTube for. Probably like Albini The Gathering or something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then you can see the musical performances and the tributes. Yeah.
Yeah, but we were sitting, and I've had this Evil Knievel hat forever. I bought it I don't know how many years ago. I've had it forever, and I kept thinking that I wanted to give it to Rick Digit because of their song Evil Knievel, And I remember posting a picture of it up on Facebook once and saying, "Who wants this?" Because it's like too small for my giant head with my hair. And he wrote underneath there, "Who the fuck do you think?" or something like that. So I was like, "Oh, send me your address and I'll send it to you." And he never did. So I took it with me because I figured I'd see him there, and I did see him there. And I was like, "Wait, hold on." He came up and said hi. "Wait, hold on. I've got something for you." And I pull it out of my bag, and he was like, seemed like kind of floored, and he was like, now I have to give you something. And I was like, you gave us the phone number for Steve Albini, I think. So I think it's okay. And then later on I think I was talking to Ian Mackay about this, and I think he came to the conclusion. He's like, yeah, I think Rick Digit gave us the phone number to Steve also, because that was back in the day when you didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
You had to get the phone number of somebody from somebody else.
And you had to call them.
On the phone, you had to call them. And Steve would always answer, and I always had his phone number memorized.
And I'm even trying to imagine. So you would call, and then you would say, "We want to record," and then you'd schedule a time, and then 3 months later, you would just show up. like,
yeah.
like you wouldn't send an email.
Who called?
I guess you
who
would
called
call
Steve?
I
Was
don't
it
know.
Chris? Did Chris Corporal
Probably
call
Chris
for?
Corporal,
Yeah.
But it's just imagining that world. Yeah, and even doing shows and finding out about shows is
Yeah.
all. In fact, I talked to Rick about that too, because I had mentioned I had been up to Chicago a few times. It's like, how do you find out about anything that's happening? I was like, I don't know. When I talked about the Off show and the Eno documentary, he was like, how do you find out about stuff these days? I was like, I guess it's the internet.
Do you remember how you used to find out? It
Yeah.
was Liz Clayton, I think, and now I can't remember, Andy Lester. Like, they ran the Chicago shows list. Hopefully, I got that right.
Well, that's the internet, though.
Yeah,
That's already
yeah,
the
yeah. That was
internet.
the internet. Before that, how did you
Before
find
that,
out?
yeah, it was posters.
Tim Bowers says hi. Hey, Tim Bowers. Hey.
I
if
mean,
you have
would
any
we
questions.
so we were able to get copies of, they would have the reader at like Rose Records in Champaign, right? So we'd be able to look at, like, they'd bring down, or the Illinois Entertainer, right? You'd be able to look
Yeah.
and see what shows that were in Chicago, for
Yeah.
instance.
Yeah.
That must be it.
Or maybe you called somebody in Chicago and they told you,
See,
oh,
I don't ever remember that.
Yeah,
it wasn't
maybe
like but there was like Starbeat presents what's happening. There were like phone lines that you could call, but for like underground music, I don't feel like you would be able to call up Starbeat and find out all the shows that
No,
were happening
no.
in Chicago.
No, that's why the Chicago shows list was fantastic.
Yeah, but again, that was
the
the
internet.
internet.
Yeah, that was the
That was, like,
beginning of
before
the
the
internet.
internet.
That was like
Yeah.
using that.
Yeah, no,
the
but
servers
I'm
and stuff.
saying
Yeah. Before how did you
that-
do it? Yeah. Zines.
And posters. I mean,
And
sometimes somebody
yeah.
would be able to put up posters for shows. Although, yeah, record stores, but somebody wouldn't drive down to Champaign to put up posters.
They
for a
might
Chicago
though.
show.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, that's nuts.
So, all right. So, what else about the So when we got there, and like the first thing we saw was Fred Armisen doing like a shtick, like up. There's like this little gazebo, and you could sit in front of it, or you could sit kind of far away from it, just on the grass. What are you laughing about?
A gazebo that you could sit close
Like,
to, or you could sit far away
yeah,
from.
like people, there was chairs set up in front of it.
There was no assigned seating.
Kind of looked
is what
like
you're saying.
midsummer.
It was general admission.
Yeah, general admission. There were, like probably 100 people or less there. Probably maybe 50 people. Yeah.
Really? You think it was?
Didn't seem like that many people
at
all
night,
the time.
the first
night.
night.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, maybe.
And so he was doing like he went through the flags, right? What was that?
Oh yeah. I didn't. Yeah. Things. I think Steve's comments about flags.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, that was good. But then
did he do the drum thing then?
He did.
Punk rock drums.
Yeah,
That was
he
the
did
first day.
Punk rock drums.
The history.
The history of punk rock.
I
drums.
mean, I didn't mind that.
It was kind of because you're not a drummer. But anyway, it was a little controversial, and I guess the next morning, he and Ian MacKay had a discussion about how appropriate it was. I don't know. Like, those guys all have like a pretty strange energy. And then I was talking to Joe from Fugazi about this later too, and just like, like I came to the words that were coming out of my mouth were like, yeah, like punk rock is serious, man, and like you shouldn't make fun of it. Like this is our life, Why should you make fun of that? We've been made fun of our whole lives.
It was
for everything.
It was life changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that scene, and that's what I realized. I mean, it was about Steve, but when you realize, the connections and how affected I think we all were by the music and the community, and yeah, it had a profound effect on us, and was, really instilled these kind of core ideas about, not selling out and
not being greedy,
Yeah.
and not being an asshole to
Yeah.
other people. Like, and so something I heard right at the end, somebody saying, well, Steve always said there's nobody above you and nobody below you.
And what, I can't remember who said it, but it was like, yeah, we created, maybe it was the Punk Planet guy, like we created a whole, world outside of, the commercial world, right? It was
Yeah.
like we created this.
Yeah.
And not like just us exclusively, but it was like, oh, we built this whole community, you know,
Yeah.
and art, and yeah, it was creative community. It was, yeah,
And it was not based on how many, who was going to get famous, who was going to get, who was going to, like, who was going to sell out, who was going to be the top banana or whatever, right? It was documentation. It was playing music that you kind of believed in, and there was no like who's going to sell out, who's going to be better than somebody else. That's what I really loved about it. Like I remember like playing, like I think we played CBGBs with a whole bunch of these people, right? Like wasn't there like a whole show? Like did we play with Jesus Lizard and Digits and stuff like that?
And
Tar, right? Yeah, Tar was there. Like Tar was there. Like Tar invited us to this. So, and I just remember everybody just being like so nice, And then this last All Tomorrow's Impeachments show that we played, whatever, 2017. That was a long time ago, I guess, huh? And I wrote about it in my book. But everybody was just so nice. Like there's no errors or anything.
Yeah, no, it was great.
That. I love how yeah. So.
It was kind of the anti-Reagan era sort of independent music world.
Yeah, and so like I was thinking about like there's that movie with what is it, Michael Douglas, right? The Greed is Good movie.
Yeah.
About is that the 80s? Greed is Good?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Wall Street.
And this was like greed is bad. Like there was like even a story being recounted about it. Like it may have been Heather Winna talking about, Steve just had no greed. He had no use for greediness. He couldn't stand it. He would give people just any time you'd ask him for money, anybody who would ask him for money, he would give them money. That was another like really interesting thing she talked about a lot is, the only way to help people is to give them money. And so in between the musical acts, there were Second City people who would get up and talk. And who's the Second City person that everybody knew and was all excited about? And I didn't know who it was.
Jack McBriar.
Yeah, I don't know who that is, but he was very like we came into the dining room area, and like Graham is sitting and talking with this guy.
And that was the thing, is like, so the Fred Armisen thing, it was like, okay, how do you get Rose to connect with Fred Armisen? And so you don't say, oh, he was on Saturday Night Live, is this and that. And you say, oh, he was the drummer from Trenchmouth. And then Rose is like, oh, okay.
No. That was your entry point, though. That's so funny because this is so when we would see somebody who like was famous or something, and we didn't already know them. Like everybody was like, you can't just go up and talk to him. Like, yes, you can. I will just walk up to somebody and go, hey, Fred Armisen, can I meet you? And so all you guys were like, shh, no, he's busy. He's doing something. He's just sitting and talking to some other person. And then, and then he started walking away, and I was like, excuse me, Mr. Armisen. I said that, excuse me, Mr. Armisen. And he like turns around, and he's like, yes. And I'm like, my family would like to meet you. And they're embarrassed that I actually said that to him.
I thought you said my son.
Or maybe my son. And I said my family would like to meet you. And they're too scared. And then he turns around, he's like, oh, well, hello. And then Rick points at him and says, you didn't even say hi, Fred. You said,
oh, did
Trenchmouth ever play with Poster Children? And he goes, oh, Poster Children. He does the double hands and jump back. Oh, Poster Children, you're Poster Children.
But we hadn't played with Trenchmouth.
But he knew who we were, so that was really impressed. Like our kids are really impressed with us. That was kind of neat. But that was your entry point. You were not like, oh, Mr. Armisen, you're so great, and put a bird on it, or you were just like, you're like, did you guys ever play with us? It's funny. So you were thinking of an entry point for everybody, and I'm just like, "Hi, can I meet you?" But then I was like, when I went up to talk to Kim Deal after the Breeders played, and there's this giant light just shining in my face, and she was standing behind it, so I couldn't really see her very well. I was really irritated by that. She's like, "Hey, how's it going?" You know, she hugged me. And she's like, "What have you been up to?" And I already was late, and I'm like, "I don't know." And she said, "Oh, cool." I go, "Just, you guys were fantastic. Thank you so much for coming here. I'm so happy you were here." And then I walked away, and then like 2 hours later, I'm laying in bed going, "What are you up to?" "I wrote a book and you're in it. Can I give you a copy of it?" Like, I wrote a book and she's in it. I could have said that to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you didn't.
But I didn't, because I didn't have my entry point ready like you had yours. So, all right. You have anything else? Like, it was also, we're like sitting on the like the blanket there, like watching the bands and stuff. And Ian's sitting with us, and you know, I'm like, "Dow, this is Ian Mackay," and he's like, I know. And then when Rick Digit came to sit with us, I was like, "Oh, is that Rick Digit from the Digits? Oh my God!" And I'm like, shh, come on, dude. You know, it's like he was really. And then and also Jay Ryan, when he met Jay Ryan, he was just like, "That's Jay Ryan." Like, he was like, I think Jay Ryan was the biggest rock star out of everybody. And they're like, we were sitting and talking to him because he's so nice. Also, we were sitting and you recorded them, right, or something? They stayed at our house, right? Didn't you record?
I don't think so.
Oh, all right. Anyway, we're old friends, kind of. You know, our house is
Champagne.
Yeah, it's champagne stuff. But you know, and so Graham is sitting and talking. We're all sitting and talking to each other, and you know, and Jay's like, "Okay, well, you know, we all parted ways and stuff." And then I think I said something like, "Jay's, you know, so cool," and Graham goes, "Wait a minute, Jay who?" And I said, "Jay Ryan," and he went, "That was Jay Ryan." So good parenting.
Anybody have any questions? Did you? Are you looking at the?
Yeah,
feed?
no, nobody's got any questions.
Late
for us.
night thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
there was a lot said about, you know, just. Oh, Aubrey Means, I love you guys so much. Sure would love to see you play again in Dallas, Texas. By far the best energy at a show ever. Oh, I love Dallas. Green, what's that place called?
Trees.
Oh, Trees too, but like a Deep Ellum, right?
Oh, that neighborhood.
Whole, yeah. The last time we were there, oh man, it's really, like out Austin to Austin. I was saying, yeah. So it seems like you know. Oh well. Also, the really cool thing is that they are renaming part of Belmont Avenue in honor of Steve Albini, and I remember thinking, like, over the last couple of days, and so that was presented today. I guess the alderman came and presented that letter or something like that. So that's so exciting, because Belmont is that's the street that I would take, you know, to get to the punk rock, you know, from my house. From my dismal upbringing in the north suburbs of Chicago, where the only thing that's valued is money and sports. I'm sorry if you live there and you're listening to this, then it's not just money and sports for you, obviously. But when I was a high school student, all that people cared about was money and sports. And I heard somebody else say that about a Chicago suburb this weekend too. So it's not just me.
And I don't know if it's just Chicago suburbs. It's just
everywhere in general. Yeah, money and sports. Now where was I?
That was the neat thing is Hugo Burnham and the drummer from Gang of Four playing with David Pajo and Fred Armisen and Sally Timms. They played a couple of Gang of Four songs. That was neat.
You can probably see that on the thing.
Yeah, that'd be on the live stream or the archive.
Yeah, so Belmont Avenue is going to be renamed after Steve, or the part that Electrical Audio's on, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like thinking, is it going to be Steve? I was writing to somebody, you know, like writing to my mom and sisters or something. It's going to be Steve Albini, either Avenue or Street. I wasn't sure what it was going to be called, but it's Steve Albini Way.
Yeah.
That's so perfect. So whoever came up with that that's so cool because he had a way. He had a way. When you recorded with him, there was a way. The Tao of Steve Albini. All right. So what else we want to discuss? Yeah. What else were you impressed about? We had a nice discussion with the three of the four Fugazi guys because the drummer wasn't there. Just kind of recounting the show. Apparently, that was a show that they all remember that we played.
Everybody is.
Like,
yeah, I told Guy that it was one of the top 10 rock moments in my life, and I had seen Talking Heads front row, so that's pretty high.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. We
ran into Guy like at Mass Mocha and didn't know it. He saw us, I guess, and we didn't recognize him or something like that. So that's the last time we.
The Kansas City show, though.
The Kansas. So you want to talk about that? I had Ian Mackay talking in front of my music business class and like asked him, tell us a story about a show, and that's the story he told. He told the Kansas City show story. So and the way he tells it, I'll tell it again, right? You want to try telling it?
No.
Oh, do you want me to tell it though?
Oh, I thought you said you were going to tell it.
Okay. All right. So, what was it? Our house doesn't have air conditioning, and I like it that way. All Fugazi shows are $5, or supposed to be $5, but this, and all ages, but this one was $6.50 because the mob owned the club and were charging an extra $1.50 surcharge, and the kids had to go up on like some other area. They couldn't be somewhere. They were separating kids and adults so they could sell
the
alcohol.
over 21. They had an over 21 was
area.
In front of the stage, and then
yeah,
there was kind of like a ring. Yeah, so it was like an auditorium type place, like almost like a hockey or basketball court, right? Type place.
Yeah.
And then so on the floor, they'd let in the over 21s, but then everybody else was in the sort of stands.
So, and then they had, and they were complaining about their own lighting rig, which I thought that was interesting because I hadn't heard them complaining about that. For me, Fugazi only wants white lights, like they don't want like a stupid like light show, they're so cool. They only need white lights to play on.
But it was the 1990s, and it's all what are those lights called? Just bright white shop lights.
Yeah, that's right. They had shop lights. Yeah. So they were really
very
bright
hot.
Stuff. Yeah,
and bright.
And I guess they said that the audience was complaining about them. Is that what it was? I don't think that's what happened. I think what happened was that people were dancing a little too violently, and then Ian asked for the lights to be turned on.
That's what I remember.
That's what happened.
There's a live tape. There might all be on there. But
yeah, so Ian asked for the lights to be turned on, and then the audience was not happy with the lights being turned on. So Ian said, they were like, turn off the lights.
The whole stadium lights,
stadium
or the
lights,
auditorium
so everybody
lights.
could see each other. And Ian was happy because he could see everybody.
Yeah.
But then he said, or somebody said, hey, if you want the lights turned off, you got to send us a petition. So then they play another song, and then like I see the side of a box like floating over the heads, of people, and they're passing it up to the front of the stage. This is like 1,000 people, like gymnasium type place, right? And they're passing this, and you could see names like had been drawn on it with a Sharpie on the side of a box. It was probably like a T-shirt box or some like a beverage box or something, and it gets passed up, and then he picks it up and he looks at it and he goes, oh, okay, all right. So I think you'll have to listen to it. And said something like, okay, turn off the lights, and then somebody yelled, turn off all the lights, and then he said, yeah, turn off all the lights, I'll show you how democracy works, or something like that. And then all the lights go off, it's pitch black, and they start playing Blueprint, which is like a quiet ding 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 ding. And Joe was telling us that he had to go in the back where there was a light so he could see how to play. He
went behind the curtain, and sat in the back to see his hands.
His frets.
Yeah.
But then right when it kicks in, all the lights went on, and it was, and you, that's where you say,
Oh
it was
yeah,
one
it
of
was
the-
an amazing moment. But afterwards, there were issues with the promoter or some guy burnt the sound guy, their sound guy with a cigar, and then smashed his video camera.
Yeah.
And then Guy got held at gunpoint or threatened with a gun.
With a gun at his head. Like, I thought the gun just was on the table, but now the
Yeah.
gun is at the head.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That,
And
like, I
then,
didn't hear Guy's part of it. I think I only heard Ian's part.
Yeah.
And I know Ian was mad at us for not being in there. But like,
Yeah, because then that was the thing, is we were sitting in the van and Ian came by, is like, like, you're sitting out here in the van, don't you know what's going on? It's
Yeah.
like
we
why-
wouldn't have done, no,
we
but
missed the battle. Like,
Yeah.
we didn't go running into the fray where the gunfight, it's like we were cowering in our van.
I would have gone in there, but
Yeah,
to
sure.
me, like that's like a famous rock band, and I would not like be hanging around them when they're getting paid and stuff.
Right.
I would feel like,
but you would, if there was a
if I knew-
violent fight and everything, you would go into it.
oh, I would
Like
totally
like
go
when
running
when
in.
we were in Canada and our drummer got hit in the head with a bottle, you were out there on the floor throwing punches.
Well, that was
That's
broken
just like
glass.
all-
and stuff.
yeah,
That was
this is all-
Canada. Yeah.
Wow, hubris.
Well, that was.
I would have run in there.
I
I would have gone after the guy with the gun.
Yeah, I would
I
have.
would have taken him down.
Okay. So anyway, it was a profound. Just thinking about the message, and our kids just sat with us the whole time, and like Graham was video recording everything, was right in front of everybody, anybody, all the remembrances and stuff. He was like right in front recording, and I was really proud to see that. And I talked to him today, and he remembers the message, he's like, Steve was always working. Oh, and then my story that I keep talking about is I met a guy who Steve played poker with. I met his wife. There's a lady in the bathroom, and I'm like, why are you here? There are not a lot of ladies here, And she said, my husband played poker with Steve, and why are you here? And I'm like, I was in a band, we recorded with him, changed my life, and talked a little bit about how much he changed my life. And I can do that more eloquently when I'm standing in a bathroom, I guess, talking to somebody new, right? I was able to coherently put out thoughts. And then she just kind of stopped for a minute. She goes, she's like, I can't imagine how he had time to change all these people's lives. Can't imagine how he had, where he found the time to impact so many people.
Yeah, well, he just spent most of his time recording, playing, and then doing the charity.
And
work.
he'd record anybody. He answered his phone. He answered his own phone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it was great.
Nobody's above you and nobody's below you. And the letters for Santa, you can read it. You can read about that in my book, or you can read about it online. But that's like Heather, I guess. They were walking, or she was walking past a post office and saw these letters to Santa, like from kids, and they were just asking for basic things, like basic needs. They weren't asking for PlayStations or anything like that. So they decided to develop a charity where they would on Christmas Eve they would go around and like they'd raise money, and then they'd buy all the things that the children asked for in the letters to Santa, and then they would go around and distribute them. That's how they spent their Christmases, and they still do. And I guess Fred Armisen went with them, and like there were some other guys who would go with them.
Jeff Tweedy, I know.
Oh yeah,
was
Jeff
part of
Tweedy was there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Jeff Tweedy's son sang beautiful songs. What a gorgeous voice that kid has.
Yeah.
I don't know how old he is. Seemed like an older kid.
Yeah,
like older
think
than a
he's-
teen.
Yeah, he's a little older than our kids.
He was really nice to us too. That was like, I was like, is Jeff Tweedy gonna say hi to us? And he was like, hey, how's it going, poster children? Blah blah blah. It was really, everybody was just nice. So I guess people were chosen because of their non-errors. They were able to exist in a place without errors or something. I thought that was really cool. So it's just a weekend full of just really like abnormally nice people.
Yeah. 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 It definitely filled this. It definitely felt in a way like a reunion for that community, you know. And I know a lot of people felt like, oh wow, we need we need to do this again.
Oh God, yeah. I was like, God, we should all meet again next year, you know. And I hope we would get invited if that happened. And everybody, all the guards that were guarding the parking lot, all had these great these great Albini shirts that I guess the merch person from the Breeders made. Is that what it was?
Yeah. So the Breeders Raiders looking shirts, and then he made a Albini kind of Raiders shirt.
And Steve Albini saw it and he thought it was the greatest thing ever, right? So
Well, he liked the
Raiders.
Breeders Raiders shirt. Yeah. And they called it, so they would call it the Albini shirt because Steve liked it, even though it said Breeders on it. But then, and so then when Steve passed away, this guy decided, as part of his processing it, made an Albini shirt, you know, as in tribute.
Yeah.
You know, and then that logo was on the security shirts, and then flags flying.
Giant flags. Yeah.
And the craziness, all of us were talking like, so almost everybody was there from the Chicago area lives in Evanston. It's like
Evanston.
It's like most of Evanston was at the event, but we were all talking about this place, the Illinois Beach park, or right? What is it called? It's a state park or something?
Yeah.
In Zion, Illinois. It's like north of the city, and just a beautiful, clear, more natural beach, right? And it's got some prairie lands around it, and just nobody in this in like who had grown up in Chicago or lived in the Chicago area. When you'd go on vacation, you'd go to Michigan. You go to the Michigan dunes, or you go up to Wisconsin. You'd never go an hour to Zion, Illinois, and it's like, oh, there's this beautiful beach, natural kind of beach area right up there, and I think that was one of the amazing things about it too. Was just like, oh, there's this beautiful natural environment, not that far from the city. So I like that. That was nice, even though I got horribly sunburnt.
Your own fault. There was sunscreen all in the bathrooms and stuff too. It was so Anyway, let's see. Yeah, I got Kevin Dunham says, I hate that he's gone. Love, it's such a fitting celebration of his life comprised of such cool people like this was able to happen. Thanks for sharing the experience. Yeah. I'm
One thing that Heather said, that the thought is that it was undiagnosed high blood pressure. And so she did say, everybody
get your blood
pressure checked. Go to the doctor. So there's the other thing about Steve is he was pretty. It sounded like he was kind of living hand to mouth, and also not. He seemed. He rode his bike and everything like that, but he also, I don't think, was regularly going to the doctor or anything, and so that's a little sad too, But something to learn from that is, you gotta, just like Charles Grodin all those years ago, where it was so weird that I remember that Charles Grodin show where was it his son had died or something, but he was just like over and over again, like, see a doctor, go to the doctor, right?
Yeah.
It's that thing where sometimes it's a simple thing. Not that it may not have made a difference, but it is. And then but the fact, and that was what was the talking about that charity, and then also we were listening to a thing about universal basic income and that idea of give people $1,000 a month, and it's like people use that for medical emergencies, or it's like, I haven't gone to the doctor in 10 years, so I'm going to use part of this money that I'm getting to do that, right? And it doesn't solve problems, but there's so many people living on the edge where they have to make choices like that. They can't, they have to decide, whether or not they're going to be able to eat that week or, pay for medical care, So
Yeah.
it's difficult and sad. But that's, and that's, another thing is like, oh, help the people that need help, Don't, make this a cruel world, We're supposed to be supporting and helping each other.
Though, what really, like, I was trying to think, like, I didn't contribute any writing because I've written a book. I've written enough about him. I figured let other people have their voices and stuff. Although, you probably could have written something nice, but the things that people were writing were all wonderful. But
thanks for saying, oh, I didn't write anything.
Yeah, you could have.
But you should have.
You should have. You haven't written. Well, yeah, but I was thinking about the Metta Sutra. You remember that? Remember? It starts out. It's like a Buddhist writing. And it starts out. We had this read at our wedding. Do you remember this? Just say yes.
I remember that we had it read at our wedding.
Yeah. It starts out with, this is what should be done by the one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech. Humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways. Peace and calm and wise and skillful, not proud or demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. And it's goes on and on, but it's kind of like talking about being humble and, being good and, not like, it seems like, not taking more than you need and stuff like that. Just being skillful and being kind. So there's like I think that, and these are things that we believe, and we were in a group of people who also believe that stuff. And then and so that felt validating in some way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It felt really validating. It was really nice because, I don't know when the last Radio Zero we did had Joe Biden stepped down. I can't remember anything, but.
Ooh, I can't remember. Yeah, no, I don't think so. Yeah, I think it was right before. It was the Friday before he stepped down.
Ah, right. That would make sense.
So we had an extended riff on how he would be booted, how they would send
that's
him away.
Right. Oh, my God. So, you want to transition into that, to just talk about that for a little while, or do you not want to?
I mean, I guess we can. I mean,
Elizabeth Foster says here, you guys were predicting it. Yeah. Yeah,
that's right. We were.
Well, everybody was predicting
it. It was in the cards.
I was surprised, though. I don't remember what day was it? What was I doing? Where was I when he?
Sunday.
Yeah.
We were doing something. You posted, and then I couldn't. My New York Times went down, and I couldn't verify it.
That's right.
But it was Sunday.
Yeah.
Something was going on.
Stepped out. Oh my God. And then Kamala Harris.
He didn't step down. He's still president. He just said, "I'm not going to run."
He said, "I'm not going to run." And then I was very happy after that.
I'm happy too, and I'm happy. I'm the Kamala consolidation, and I'm.
But first, also, right after he stepped down, all these assholes that I've been listening to for weeks going, he needs to stand down. Let's just say stand down. We know what he means, right? He needs to stand down, blah, blah, blah. He's too old. And it was driving me crazy. And I kept yelling, fuck the New York Times. I was getting really sick of it all. And then he steps down. And then the day later was like, what a great president. He put his country before himself, and he's going to go down in history as being very, very generous and unselfish, and what a great guy. And I was like, thank you. I just thanks. That's nice to hear something nice about somebody for once, and then they went on. Then the Kamala consolidation was great too. Yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause I feel like Ezra Klein didn't want that to happen though. It's like he wanted some kind of cockamamie runoff or new micro primary kind of thing.
Just to prove that she that she
that she would
win. It's important.
Yeah, it's total BS though. It was just like, oh,
Thank
but
God
we
that
don't
didn't
want
happen,
Kamala
yeah.
either.
Yeah.
And it's
yeah.
like,
Yeah. And then I finally started watching the New York Times pitch bot on that evil Elon Musk platform, just because Graham's like, you just need to watch this, and it was hysterical because it was so spot on. If you don't look at the New York Times pitch bot, it's hysterical. It's right on. It's okay, but anyway, so you're happy. Oh, who's she gonna pick? She hasn't picked yet. She hasn't picked her vice president yet. We don't know.
August 7th, I think.
August. Oh my God, that's coming up.
It is.
That's a deadline.
Is something, yeah. It's not the convention, but for some reason she's got to pick a running mate.
And it's probably not going to be J.B. Pritzker.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Oh, this was the thing I was saying. I was saying when they picked J.D. Vance, that was their penises talking. First of all, I haven't listened to any podcasts about this yet, but I was saying to you, I actually knew something about politics. I was like, that is I think they fucked themselves by picking him.
I mean,
they fucked
what
themselves.
it was is they just it was just kind of going full Trump, in the running mate, as opposed to getting somebody who was some sort of compromise, more establishment kind of bridge vice president. It was like it's and somebody said something interesting also about, I can't remember who it was, about it was a Democrat, somebody in politics, saying that the whole thing about Trump saying, oh, you won't need to vote again in 4 years if you just vote for me now. And they were saying it's not him saying that he's going to take over and they'll never be voting again. It's just him saying that he won't be running in 4 years and you don't need to bother to vote
agree.
then.
I
it was,
agree.
and I thought, oh, that's an interesting take, because that actually kind of makes sense, where he's just like, this is the important one. And then it's like, after that, it doesn't matter, because I'm not going to be running for president again after that.
Yeah, that's of course. That's like what is that? What's Occam's razor? Is that like, or whatever it is? That's the most obvious. Schrodinger's cat, which is whatever is the most. It's just him
Schrodinger's razor shaving his cat.
Yeah, it's just totally him just being like, you don't have to vote again. Just vote now because I'm running now. Well, I've fixed it. And also he's just running off his mouth. And it's his ass talking. There's no connection between his mouth and his brain. There's no brain there. There's nothing left there. Talk about Joe Biden being...
his skull is just the egg for the silly putty. It's just holding that little smooth lump
there's like
of
a little
pink
hamburger
silly
in there.
putty.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, I got to buy some silly putty.
Why?
Where can I buy silly putty? I don't know. I feel like I need some silly putty.
It smells.
Yeah, I need to smell that smell. Can I buy it?
You can probably go to Walmart right now.
I'll go to Toys R Us.
You can probably go to Walmart right now and get it.
That's what I miss about. Like if I wanted to buy
Walmart's
silly
still
putty,
open.
I'd know where to go.
Yeah.
I'd go to...
I'll tell you where to go. Okay, so back to what's also interesting? I didn't hear one person discussing politics this weekend.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, nobody said anything. Nobody had to, I guess. But back to us discussing politics. So it's not going to be J.B. Pritzker. Even I love him, and I don't want to share him. You know what I was thinking too? Like I don't want to hear people from another state making fun of him. I don't want to share him because I love him so much for the state of Illinois, but I also every time he posts something, about like Argonne or some now he's on to black women die 3 times more in childbirth. We got to fix that. This guy is such a mensch, right? And there's always like a laughing face underneath the comments. There's always a laughing face, and then if you click on it, which don't, it's a robot usually, like, you're fat, So I don't want to share them with the rest of the country because I don't want to hear some asshole from Tennessee saying, you're Jew, you shouldn't be, you're bad, you're Jewish. So who's it going to be?
I don't know.
There's an astronaut and a guy from...
Yeah, the astronaut would be good.
Yeah, you don't care, huh?
I'm just not.
Nothing you can do about it. You're just going to wait. You're just going to wait. See.
Like
it was like, are the breeders going to play?
Nobody called me asking.
Nobody called you asking your opinion?
Yeah.
Or you didn't answer.
Yeah.
Probably they
Yeah,
didn't
that's
call
right.
you
I
anyway
got-
because you're from Illinois.
I'm
It doesn't
suspicious.
matter.
Yeah, like if I got a phone call from a DC area code, it would be I don't think I'd pick it up.
We want you to give to the Democrats. Have you
Yeah.
given money?
I haven't given any money, but I've been getting text messages from Kamala.
Have you given money?
Yeah, I haven't given any
Oh,
money,
you
but
haven't
I've been
yet.
getting text messages.
I gave money that day. I was like, oh, okay, here's $10. Go crazy.
Go see yourself a Star Wars.
All right. Well, that's all exciting. So Kevin Dunham here says Rick and Rose Stradamus, but it's Rick. It's Rick
Stradamus.
Stradamus.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
Stradamus.
funny.
Rick and Rose Stradamus. What do you want to predict?
I don't want to predict anything. I'm just going to say that I was also in mourning over the weekend because I found out I lost my New York Times streak, my puzzle streak, my crossword puzzle streak. I had gotten up to 1,302 days, which, if you do the math, is like 3.5 years. And then last Thursday, I just didn't do the puzzle. I don't know what happened.
And so on Saturday, he's sitting like in the shade, sitting and talking to who's it, Dwayne Dennison, and Rick Digit with his fancy Italian swim shorts. And you know, I think I said Rick is in mourning, or somebody said Rick is in mourning, and then because he lost his New York Times crossword puzzle streak. And I think Dwayne said, "Oh no, that's terrible," and then he said, "Wait, you can finish it," you know, and then he was I think they were both laughing.
But right before that, I had been talking to Liz Clayton about what a sort of weight it is. You know, it's just kind of like, I kind of feel like I should just let it go because it's a lot of stress to try to make sure that and remember. Every day, and I had reminders.
Thursday was no stress.
As I'm talking about that, and then an hour later, I realized, oh crap, it happened. So actually, I haven't finished my puzzle today.
And
yet.
then you found out that the last time you lost your streak, that's the weird thing.
Yeah, so I do Future Me, and my Future Me's that's the service that you can write emails to yourself or someone else in the future, and so I do them at the end of July. They usually show up. So like the 1 year one will show up at the end of July, and then I'll write another 1 year one, and then a 5 year one will show up in July. And so the 5 year one, an email from me from 2019, and before the pandemic. In July, that same, almost to the day, I had lost my previous streak of like 1,000 days.
That's so weird.
So July 26th, 27th, every year I got to set like a bunch of alarms to make sure I don't miss the puzzle.
Every 3.5 years.
Yeah, so it means I'm going to have to, and so for a year after that at least, right? So how long has it been? Yeah, so I started again on January 1st, 2021, I think, is when I started this, like, actively pursuing the streak again. So 2019, I had totally, after that, I was like, I'm only going to do the puzzle when I think about it, or, I'm not going to worry about a streak or anything like that. And so it would be patchy. I'd have, 30-day streaks or whatever. But then, 2021. So there was like a year or two of mourning from the 2019 loss. And then but I've already rolled back in. Well, maybe not. Maybe I won't worry about it now. I'm like 4 days in now.
I'm just like, fuck the New York Times. I've been yelling about it anyway with their stupid opinion pieces about how Biden should step down. So
yeah.
Then I was mad at them. Then I was like, call them up. There's got to be, like, fucking Duolingo has like a couple of streak freezes. Like, I know that if I mess up one day, they're going to give me like a leeway or something. That's just terrible.
Well,
That's
there is
terrible.
leeway. There is leeway. I've done a puzzle, like a Sunday puzzle at like 7 a.m. on a Monday, after Well, I started it and then I forgot to complete it, and then I finish it like at 7 or 8 in the morning on a Monday, and I get credit for it being in the
Okay,
streak.
so what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, so I checked off my to-do list on Thursday. I checked off that I did the puzzle, but I didn't actually look, and I had thought I'd done the puzzle. I just assumed I was on autopilot. I think as I had spent all day, I had mowed the lawn and then done something else, and I had used up my whole morning, and I usually do the puzzle in the morning, so it was like, I think I just, didn't realize that I hadn't done it.
So how are you rectifying this error in your ways? Like, how have you gotten over it? Like,
It's not that important.
okay. Good. That's great.
I mean, I was a little bit sad, but it was also, again, it's also just a lot,
It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of, with
so
great
like,
power comes great.
That's why I stopped doing all the other games, like Wordle. Like, what was that? So I was doing the New York Times, and then I was doing Wordle, like whatever that first Wordle year was, and it was just like, this is taking up too much of my life, not just time, but just like mental energy. Is like, did I do the Wordle? And what time is it? All that stuff. It's just like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
The gamification of your whole life, it's not good.
All right. Well, I'm exhausted. I'm still thinking about the weekend, and I'm still thinking about, like, just Bob Weston. Oh, the other thing of note for me was sorry, not Bob Weston, Todd Trainer kind of did like a solo, like, really intense couple of songs, and it sounds like it's kind of like directions on it, driving through parts of Europe, I think, for a show, like if you're ever driving through, wherever they were driving, probably something that happened to them on tour, right? Is that what that was?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Dude, it was so intense. He's such a kind of a interesting energy dude, and also like just exceedingly nice. Like,
and that's what I realized. Yeah, so Bricklayer Cake, right? That's his. And so he had done that. So apparently, and I'd forgotten. I looked it up. We had played First Avenue with Fugazi, and Todd did his solo guitar thing in between our bands. That's what I remember. Seeing that before. In fact, I might have seen him do that. I wonder if I saw him do that before I saw Shellac play. It's possible.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Because he would have been was the drummer
he's from Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That would make sense why he was there then.
Was it Rifle Sport? What was the band he was in? Crap. I should know that. Anyways.
But that was so, and like that was one of the first people we were talking to too, because like the first day I think that we introduced Dow to him, and Dow is a drummer, and he's like, oh, you're a drummer too, wow, and he was taught, because Todd Trainer teaches drums online, Joe Lally teaches bass online, right? So you can take lessons from these guys. But he was talking to him for a long time, and then like he had to go off, like, because he's Todd Trainer, and he's one of Steve Albini's bandmates, so he had to go talk to other people. And then Graham walked up right then, and and I was like, bye, Todd Trainer, thanks for talking to us. I didn't say that, but I was thinking that, and then I'm like, oh, and then this is Graham, this is our other son, just in case you see him walking around this weekend. And he just stopped, and he like turns around, he's like, oh, hello, Graham, and he's like, it's just like such a nice guy, like just so everybody was very nice. So if the whole world was like that, then thank you, Steve Albini. And it's weird too, because so I was happy that we spent that whole weekend like that. And then as we were driving home, right before we got home, you played a Shellac song. Well, the Shellac song was playing over the beach, and there were like who was driving past, like police.
Yeah, the beach police.
Yeah,
I thought
really
it was
weird.
Forest Park Rangers, but it said police on it.
Yeah, and it's the song about, I don't know what it's called. What's
Prayer to God or something like that?
Yeah, it's a song like I want, I don't usually pray, but I'm praying now. I want you to kill. It's probably his old girlfriend and her new boyfriend or something like that.
Yeah, I I don't necessarily think it's autobiographical.
No, obviously not. It's like it's speaking in somebody else's voice, as Steve is wont to do. But like, we were listening to that, and it's repetitive, right?
Yeah.
It ends very repetitively, saying, it was very, very inappropriate, but the kids were listening to it, and I know that they understood it. So I thought that was nice.
Yeah. All right. Well.
Yeah, it's hard. It's I thought we'd be able to talk a lot about this, and I was wrong.
We talked an hour.
I know, but like I don't know if it was very interesting.
Yeah.
You think about what you learned from this community, and how important it is to you, and just every minute counts. How about that? Every second counts. It's a Bear thing, right?
Yeah.
Make every. Try to act with kindness.
Yeah.
Try to act with kindness.
That's all you need. All right.